man.
This great American.
This great American, in whose symbolic shadow we stand, signed the Emancipation Proclamation. This momentous decree came as a great beacon light of hope to millions of Negro slaves who had been seared in the flames of withering injustice. It came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of captivity.
But 100 years ago, we must face the tragic fact that the Negro is still not free. 100 years later, the life of the Negro is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and by the chains of discrimination. 100 years later, the Negro still lives on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity. 100 years later, the Negro is still languishing in the corners of American society and finds himself in exile in his own land. So we have come here today to dramatize an appalling condition.
In a sense, we have come to our nation's capital to cash a check when the architects of our republic wrote the magnificent words of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. They were signing a promissory note in which every American must fall heir. This note was a promise that all men would be guaranteed the rights, the inalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
It is obvious today that America has defaulted on this promissory note insofar as its citizens of color are concerned. Instead of honoring this sacred obligation, America has given the Negro people a bad check which has come back marked insufficient funds.
But we refuse to believe that the Bank of Justice is bankrupt. We refuse to believe that there is insufficient funds in the great wealth of opportunity of this nation. So we have come to cash this check. A check that will give us up on demand and the security of justice. We have come to this hollow spot to remind Americans of the fierce urgency of now.
This is no time to engage in the luxury of
Come on, bring it. Louder.
now is the time to rise from the dark and desolate valley of segregation to the sunlit path of racial justice. Now is the time to open all doors of opportunity to all of us. Now is the time to live our racial justice.
It would be fatal for the nation to overlook the urgency of the moment and to underestimate the determination of the Negro. This sweltering summer of the Negro's legitimate discontent will not pass until there's an invigorating autumn of freedom and equality. 1963 is not an end, but a beginning. Those who hope that the Negro needed to blow off steam and will now be content will have a rude awakening if society returns to business as usual. There will be neither rest nor tranquility in America until the Negro is granted his citizenship rights. The whirlwinds of revolt will continue to shake the foundations of this nation until a bright day of justice emerges.
But there is something I must say to my people who stand on the warm threshold which leads into the palace of justice. In the process of gaining our rightful respect, we must not be guilty of wrongful deeds. Let us not seek to satisfy our freedom by drinking from the cup of bitterness and hatred.
Good.
We must forever conduct our struggle on the high plane of dignity and discipline.
Good.
We must not allow our protests to degenerate into physical violence. Again and again, we must rise to the majestic height of being physical force, slow force.
The marvelous militancy which has engulfed the Negro community must not lead us to distrust of all of white people. For many of our white brothers, evidenced by the presence here today, have come to realize that their fate is tied with our fate. Their freedom is inextricably bound to our freedom. We cannot walk alone.
And as we walk, we must make the pledge that we shall walk ahead. We cannot turn back. There are those who are asking the devotees of civil rights, when will you be satisfied? We can never be satisfied as long as our bodies, heavy with the fatigue of travel, cannot gain lodging in the motels of the highways and the hotels of the cities. We can never be satisfied as long as the Negro's basic mobility is from a smaller ghetto to a larger one.
Yeah.
We cannot be satisfied as long as a Negro in Mississippi cannot vote and a Negro in New York believes he has nothing for which to vote. No, we cannot be satisfied, and we will not be satisfied until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream.
I am not unmindful that some of you have come here out of great trials and tribulations. Some of you have come straight and fresh from the jail cells of the jail. Some of you have come from areas where your quest for freedom has left you battered by the storms of persecution and staggered by the winds of police brutality. Some of you, I tell you, some of you have come out here. You continue to work with the faith that is redemptive.
Go back to Mississippi. Go back to Alabama. Go back to Georgia. Go back to Louisiana. Go back to the slums and ghettos of our northern cities, knowing that this situation can and will change. Let us not wallow in the valley of despair.
I say to you today, my friends, that in spite of the difficulties and the frustrations of the moment, I still have a dream. It is a dream that is deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We all hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
I have a dream. One day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to join, sitting down together at a table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a desert state sweltering with the heat of oppression and injustice, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice.
I have a dream that my 4 children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
I have a dream that one day, the state of Alabama, whose governor's lips is presently dripping with the words of interposition and nullification, will be transformed into a situation where little black boys, little black girls will be able to join hands with little white girls, little white boys, and walk together as brothers and sisters. I have a dream today.
I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, every hill and mountain shall be made low. The rough places shall be made plain, and the crooked places shall be made straight, and the glory of God shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together.
This is our hope. This is the faith with which I return to the South. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day.
This will be the day when all of God's children are to sing with a new meaning. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the Pilgrim's bride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring.
And if America's to be a great nation, this must become true. Let freedom ring from the prodigious mountains of New Hampshire. Let freedom ring from the mighty mountains of New York. Let freedom ring from the hiding alligators of Pennsylvania.
Let freedom ring from the uncapped Rockies of Colorado.
Let freedom ring from the curvaceous peaks of California.
But not only that, let freedom ring from the Stone Mountain of Georgia.
Let freedom ring from the mighty
Mountains of Tennessee.
from the mighty mountains of Tennessee. From every hill and every molehill in Mississippi. From every mountainside, let freedom ring.
When we let freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet,
From every city, from every state, and every city,
we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men, white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing the words of the old Negro spiritual. Free at last!